If we had to start today by looking at XRP, we can see some historical pattern playing out, but there is some deviations right now in this segment. Last time, while we were creating this, we kind of had a higher momentum to the upside. The strength of buyers were high. This time around, yeah, we're watching some hidden bullish divergence coming in, but it's not as strong as what we saw back in the day. So, what are we looking at? What would the odds favor for those who are holding on to XRP? Because XRP in this giant market, it does matter what Bitcoin does. And as of now, when you do look at the stock market, you do see things going wild in some of them due to regulatory concerns and other side. But when you come on to the crypto, you do have some positive news as well. So this is a small piece of that pie, but it is still a positive news. And then we come on to the latest from the new judge, where again SEC is reiterating this. The tokens themselves are not a security. Now, this is SEC, which is a great thing because then judge is like, okay, this is what Coinbase has been saying before. So now you're validating what they are talking about. And this was the entire war against XRP. Right now, it is solved. What do you think the next is going to be? I think it is going to be a great breakthrough for the entire market. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. Right now, when you go into the market, we are watching that these assets are showing you some signs, signals, and we spotted that a little while ago. When they started showing you the negative movement, we showed you that. When they started showing you the bullish movement, we again brought that to the SI family. 960 plus members are taking benefit of that by looking at what you can learn from the market and how you can use that. Right now, you're watching TRB is up close to 160. And yesterday, while it was at 135, 136, I gave this to you guys. There is bullish divergence coming in. It should go up. But what's the catch there? It is that the weekly is already showing you a negative divergence. So when you go into different assets, make sure you understand this and you don't get trapped inside those movements, because if you do, then jumping out of that will not be an easy thing. So you need to understand what the market is showing you. You need to understand the price structure, which helps a lot. And if you'd like to get those updates on the real time, just like what the SI family gets, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below, where you can reach me for the one-on-one sessions and for all these charts. Now, before we jump into the video here, please do smash that like button for me and let's dive in. You look at the price action here on Bitcoin. Now, we didn't get much of a change from last day, but what we are looking at essentially is like, okay, if we can actually make a double bottom structure here and a bounce back up, it is going to be something which we really want to see. It will be great. It will really be great to see that. But then you slowly zoom in. You want to see like, okay, what are we really doing? Is it a possible head and shoulder inverse, head and shoulder possibility coming in? We want to see whether that's possible. If we can break back above 43,400, that kind of comes into the picture. That's a short-term move. It's still fine. But what we do have to realize is the fact that Bitcoin has flushed a lot in terms of short-term liquidity, right? A lot of people who are highly leveraged were just made liquidity for the market. Now, what's next is going to be one of the biggest factors each and everyone should be discussing. We are still here trying to re-enter into the overbought zone. So we have seen how price action works while we were in the overbought territory. So when we are coming back into that, it should be again attractive. But the issue is you need to see a daily close which actually gives you a bullish movement. If not, put this onto a line chart, and what you're watching is that earlier in this cycle, we made this trend line as a support. You went above that, you made that as a support. But there are times when you break below the moving average, retest that and get rejected, right? Then, until and unless we see breaking back higher, we would see something like this. Now, don't panic. What are we talking about? That was an 18, say 20% drop. Right now, from the local peak, where are we? 13, 14% to the downside. So it's not a huge move to the downside, but still it can create some panic. Now, if we do look at this in this similar pattern, we don't have a rejective sense as of now. You get the confirmation for the rejection when you break this. So literally, as we trend higher and we break this, you kind of get the idea we are going back up. The confirmation comes in here, right? Similarly, when you're trending to the downside, once you break this, you retest and get rejected. This area gives you the confirmation that we are going further low. So that's what you are looking for if you're a bear. However, when you're a bull in the market, in such a market which is trending higher, remember, trend is your friend. That's something you should keep in your mind. If the money, big money, is pushing to the upside, you should not go against it. One of the primary things we have seen is when the price runs a little bit far from the moving average. Here I'm using a standard moving average, 21 moving average on a weekly chart. And you happen to see like, okay, when that actually runs a little bit higher like that, you kind of see the price slowing down, coming back to the moving average. Now, remember, while the price stays upside, moving average is still being pulled to the upside. So you're not talking about a 36K, most likely they'll meet somewhere here. That's the bullish scenario, $38,000 to $39,000 per Bitcoin. And that will give you the idea of how low we corrected. So if you put that narrative here, we are walking towards close to a 30% correction, 28-30% correction. Now that is something healthy. We have seen those moves in the market a lot of different times. 30%, 25%, 16%. So if you are trying to look for positives, this is the reality. If you're trying to panic, this is all you want to panic. But if you actually take a look at where the money is moving and how the market is reacting to it, this is again something positive for every one of us. Yes, Bitcoin dominance is at a support. We are not getting a break to the downside right now. It is trying to do that, but you're starting to develop a bullish divergence on the Bitcoin dominance, which means a lot of money started moving into the altcoins from here. Now it is slowly shifting back. Now, what are the odds here? You may actually see this bouncing back up, retesting this range, and then getting rejected. That is something which we as altcoin investors would really, really like to see. So you jump on to the total market of altcoins, and this is what you're watching, right? We haven't actually got a big breakout after the recent slowdown in the market. So you do want to see this breaking to the upside. Now that's a daily chart scenario. So you slow down, move back into the weekly chart to see like, okay, what are we really watching here? And it kind of shows you we are still at that range. Now, what do I mean? Take the line chart. Remember, we just discussed about the trend is your friend. Now you zoom in and look what is happening here. You're getting this trend, but you're slowly breaking to the upside for sure, right? So we need to see historically, did we do this kind of thing before? If we have done that before, what was it like, right? So this looks really like that area where you were trending like this. What do I mean? You have a channel where you're trying to move in, and that kind of shows a lot of significance of what we are doing now. If you have a doubt of what that actually meant in terms of price action, you can take the top to the bottom and say, okay, that was like a 30% drop, 28% drop. It's not a small thing. And we're like, okay, a 28% drop here would actually mean the market is doing something. But have we already seen that amount of volatility? The price action hasn't actually dropped that much, but you have relatively dropped fine. Now, while the exact same scenario was happening on the price action, what did the RSI show you, right? How did the strength reflect this? This is important, guys. In few weeks from now, when you look back at this and say, maybe I'm wrong, but I think I'm right. But if I turn out to be right, then you will say, okay, this guy was showing you all this before. So you don't want to actually miss something when almost everything in the market is leading you towards one thing. 1 + 1 equals, right? You don't have to think about, okay, it's going to be 3 this time around. No, historically, that's how things work. So if you try to invent new things, you'll have to put justification on it. If not, let's look at the reality, right? This is XRP. We took all of the information as we understood from all the other asset class, all the other assets in this asset class. And we're like, okay, we're coming down here each and every time we do that. We're kind of getting a wick to the upside. Someone is interested in buying this asset. And we're watching like, okay, we are kind of making a trend line, a micro trend line, which is trending to the upside. But what is the issue on that trend line? Right now, this is the issue on that trend line. I mean, if you understand what I'm pointing towards, if we do break that, now we are talking about a consolidation here and then a rejective movement into this leg. That's a big possibility which we cannot deny. Now, if you are a pattern guy, that's one of the pattern you're looking at. And if you are a daily chart lover and you're into this, you're actually looking at a clear channel here. And you're like, okay, this is fine. I understand the possibility that the price may move like this, which means you also agree with the fact that the price can come down to this range and then bounce off. This is completely fine. So unless you see a breakout from this trend, whether to the downside or to the upside, we are continuing inside the pattern. So if you don't have enough patience, the market is a place where, it kind of irritates, frustrates every one of us. And that's one of the reasons why we have the saying, market can remain uncertain. It can literally do things for a longer period of time than we can stay liquid. So market will be irrational. Markets will stay irrational for a long period of time, especially when you have an asset like this, which shows massive amount of fundamentals. We just saw what people in Davos is talking about. And all of them were literally speaking about utilization of a crypto asset. They were kind of literally mocking Bitcoin, saying there are assets for payments, there are assets for smart contracts. And I'm like, okay, this is one of the assets for payments. It has that inherent utility inside it. And if that's so sure, and they know people understand this, why would they allow to make easy money on this? They'll try as much as possible to shake as much people as possible to the outside. This is exactly what's happening in the market. So unless you go through what's happening in the macro environment, unless you try to break things down and understand where we're going with this, it is going to be really, really hard. Say, if you're actually looking at Franklin Templeton, which is like, the giant in the financial industry entering into crypto market, they're kind of saying, okay, 1.5 trillion spot Bitcoin ETF issuer, just Franklin Templeton, the giant guys. That's the assets under management, right? Not just the crypto. So crypto is improving how we interact with each other financially, just like the internet did with the information. So we actually know what's happening. This is the direction. This is the macro direction. There is no change in it. Just like the media is being disrupted by the podcast. You're getting real information. You're getting real education over here for free, right? And those who want to elaborate on that, those who want to go deep, yeah, that's a different story. They go do that. But in general, when you actually look through this, you kind of get to see that level of hypocrisy, because on one end, they say stay away from this guy, which is Bitcoin. And then on the other end, they play with the spot Bitcoin ETF. So if they are about to deliver that, or they are in fact delivering that, they're giving it to whom? Those who are interested in buying that asset. So if they think it's something they should not touch, that's where I'm a little bit of respect to Vanguard, saying, okay, if they have this perspective, they're not giving it to their customers, fine. But at the end of the day, market decides which direction we go. Marketplace always supersedes all of this. Payments is an area where we should not keep our eyes away from, because there's a lot happening, especially when you go through all this information and you see the prices not moving. That's where real investors are made. The amateur investors who just try to catch the momentum, they are actually traders. They're trying to trade the market with momentum. But if you do understand anything given as educational material from Warren Buffett, Howard Marks, Peter Lynch, whoever you take as a legend in the investing world, you will come back to the valuation part. And how do you value these crypto assets? And that's where you need to take your time and educate you as well as possible to understand this. Say, earlier today, when I was going through the Twitter, and I think this is really important, super important. I was actually going through an individual, I think, who was in Fidelity. And I was like, okay, this guy, when I'm looking at his profile, is director of global macro at Fidelity, right? And when you go into his profile, what you see is student of the history. And I'm like, whoa. That's something I've, heard back in the day from Jim Rogers, maybe 4 or 5 years back. And ever since I've heard that, I was like, okay, that should be what I should be, right? That's how investors become successful. So this guy is saying, clearly, I'm a student of the market, the history, right? He's a chart maker. So he believes in history and that repeating in itself. Now he understands markets are cyclical. You have the economic cycle, you have the business cycle. So they go through all of this. And this guy is showing you a possibility here. That's huge. Meaning you're actually looking through this to blow off, come back down to make a bottom and then go up. So that means, yeah, you're certainly not at the top or the bottom, but you're at the halfway through this journey. This is something we all should keep in mind. So they believe in the fact that this can go up, make this pattern and come back down to 40. This is what they think. Now, that's what you see from these giants in the industry who have been there for an extended period of time. But yeah, obviously, each and every one of us would have a different thought process. But when you go back in the market, don't forget the fact that as of now, you still have that hidden bullish divergence in the market. So if you do understand the market is trying to give you the idea of this, now you're waiting for a confirmation. You get a breakout like this. That's a double bottom signal from the market. So follow the market on medium to macro horizon so you understand what the market is trying to do. If you do take decisions in the market just based on the short-term move, it can actually hurt you if you are highly levered. So don't try to go in that route unless you're so familiar and you know what you're doing with. But if you do need help in learning what the market is doing, how the market is working, how you can take advantage of these moves as soon as they come in, right? If you are looking at the TA and you're like, okay, I can understand that, great, perfect. If not, this link can actually help you substantially. So guys, if you haven't smashed that like button yet, please consider doing that. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.